I was once asked, have I ever written a bad poem? It was a very intriguing question. I simply responded back, ask God. I mean, he's the author of bad poems. I was met with blasphemy. You are disrespectful. And my personal favorite, you are going to hell with gasoline draws on. I said that would offend me if I was in a fucking fuel tank who learned to comfortably exist around open flames. See, you see tattoos. I see God leaving evidence of multiple edits from when his writing was shitty. You see a scar on my right jaw. I see when God stabbed the paper because the lines that he wrote couldn't shake the angels off they fucking clouds. You see 2 heart operations. I see when God barred up the paper, threw me in the trash, and the doctor had to come and pick me up because if one man's trash is another man's treasure, then I guess God's only mistake is another human's misery. Have you read the fucking Bible? It says honor thy father and thy mother, but he decided to write one of mine as a trauma case who threw objects at a child and the other as a namesake who couldn't breathe the words, I love you, son. So before you ask me, have I ever written a bad poem, why don't you ask him, why did it take 66 books for him to explain why his poetry is so fucking complicated? If God's pen game is so good, tell me why he needed a bunch of ghostwriters, including that nigga Peter who ghosted him in the end. If God is the ultimate poet, tell me why he needed 12 other niggas on his slam team. And I know if God was in an actual slam, he couldn't explain all that shit in 3 minutes with a 10-second grace period. Because I've literally been waiting almost 40 years for him to explain where the fuck is my brother that I never met. How is it that he told Pharaoh to let his people go, only to relocate us to the fucking plantation? How is envy one of the 7 deadly sins? And then he turns around and says, I'm a jealous God. And now I understand why we got poets reading off their phones in a slam, because his most famous 10 commandments was read off a fucking tablet. Maybe, just maybe, God got upset that those commandments he spit got no higher than the 7.6 and the audience he spit to. And now I'm left to wonder, out of 7.6 billion humans on earth, why am I the one to suffer? Why write me into a biblical plague of shit that even the flies avoid? I wasn't the one up there telling you to do this. Why get cocky and walk on water while telling everybody that you drowned me first? So if you ask me, have I ever read a bad poem? I say no. If you ask me, has God ever written a bad poem? I say no, because I've come to learn and grow that the most beautiful writings come from the ugliest of circumstances, because of God so loved the world and gave his son to forgive me for my sin. I will literally raise hell if heaven don't let me the fuck in. You see, I was born in Jesus' birth pen. My blood type is black ink. My DNA is the chain link that had the Israelites in bondage. And my first words were, in the beginning, God created in the heavens and the earth. But the real question is, who the fuck created me?